The tension in the Good Morning America studio was already brewing beneath the surface before Nicolas Cage even walked onto the set. Crew members whispered nervously backstage, sensing something off-kilter about the energy that morning. Cage had arrived earlier than expected, storming past the cameras with an intensity that sent a ripple through the production floor. He wore a striking silver snakeskin blazer over a black turtleneck, dark-tinted sunglasses shielding his eyes, and a heavy onyx ring that glinted ominously under the studio lights. He hadn't spoken much to the crew, only mumbled cryptic lines from his new film and requested that the studio lighting be dimmed, to reflect emotional sincerity. George Stephanopoulos, ever the seasoned journalist, was used to challenging interviews. He'd faced senators, war criminals, and celebrities in full public meltdown. Still, he knew Cage was different. Volatile, brilliant, unpredictable. The segment was supposed to promote Cage's latest film, Shadow's Pulse, a psychological thriller exploring the mind of a grieving musician haunted by violent hallucinations. But as Cage took his seat, arms folded, legs crossed dramatically, something in his posture made the air feel brittle, like anything could shatter it. George started off smooth. "Nicholas, welcome back. Always a pleasure to have you with us." Cage offered a faint nod. "Pleasure is subjective," he muttered, almost inaudibly. George smiled, brushing it off. "You're known for throwing yourself fully into your roles. In Shadow's Pulse, you play a man unraveling at the seams. Was that emotionally draining for you?" For a moment, Cage said nothing. Then he leaned in. "You ask that like unraveling isn't a daily experience in this world, George." That earned a few nervous laughs from the crew. George chuckled awkwardly. "Fair point, but your performance feels deeply personal. Is it safe to say the character draws from your own struggles, professionally, emotionally?" Cage removed his sunglasses slowly, placing them on the coffee table between them like a ceremonial act. His eyes, intense and unblinking, locked with George's. "You mean the struggles your media loves to highlight? The bad investments, the memes, the so-called career spirals?" Cage's voice was calm, but laced with quiet fury. "You want me to bleed for your morning slot?" George raised his hands in defense. "Not at all. I'm just saying fans have seen a wide spectrum in your career. From iconic masterpieces to, well, more eccentric projects." "Eccentric?" Cage interrupted sharply. "You mean independent, risk-taking, unfiltered by the corporate checklist of what makes a film marketable." The studio went pin-drop silent. The co-hosts at the sidelines froze, unsure whether to intervene. A producer off-camera could be seen mouthing, "Wrap it early." Trying to bring it back on track, George flipped to his notecards. "Let's talk about the process. Your character, he sees things, experiences vivid hallucinations. And so do I, George," Cage snapped, eyes burning now. "Every time I sit in a room like this whole setup, smiles, spotlights, and shallow questions, it's a hallucination. A sterilized reality designed to extract clicks from conflict." George straightened in his chair, choosing his words carefully. "With all respect, Nicholas, this is a platform for viewers to understand the artist. To hear your truth, my truth." Cage laughed bitterly. "You want the truth. Here it is. Hollywood has become a graveyard of originality. Studios follow algorithms, not instincts. And people like you, George, you ask safe questions wrapped in feigned curiosity. But I'm not here to be safe. I'm here to ignite." He stood up abruptly. His mic wire pulled taut and snapped from the back of his blazer, sending a high-pitched feedback screech through the speakers. The entire set jumped. George, now clearly rattled, tried to salvage it. "Nicholas, let's not do this on live TV." But Cage was done. "Live TV is dead, George. Just like the passion you pretend to care about." He yanked off the remaining mic pack, tossed it onto the table with a thud, and stormed off the stage. As he passed the cameras, he turned once more, looked directly into the lens, and declared, "Stop asking me to explain fire to people who've only ever seen sparks." And then he vanished behind the curtain, leaving stunned silence in his wake. The broadcast abruptly cut to a commercial, an ad for cereal and family SUVs, completely tonally dissonant from the inferno that had just unfolded on live television. But the damage, and the headlines, were already forming. The fallout from Nicolas Cage's explosive walkout on Good Morning America was swift and chaotic. Within minutes of the live broadcast cutting to commercial, social media had already erupted. Viewers across the country sat stunned, cereal bowls in hand, trying to process what they'd just witnessed. On-screen meltdowns were nothing new to morning television, but this This was Cage Unchained, unfiltered, and, depending on who you asked, either deeply unprofessional or utterly brilliant. Clips of the moment began circulating across X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube with captions like, "Cage versus the establishment, he warned us about sparks," and the now viral, "Stop asking me to explain fire." The internet devoured it. Millions of views rolled in within the first hour. Memes followed. One had Cage in a gladiator helmet standing over George Stephanopoulos with the caption, "Are you not entertained?" ABC released a cautious statement by midday. This morning's interview with Nicolas Cage did not go as planned. "We respect all artists and the passion they bring to their work. We are proud to continue offering a platform for diverse voices." It was corporate and polished, exactly the kind of language Cage had just lambasted. Internally, though, GMA staff were scrambling. Several producers reportedly met behind closed doors to decide whether Cage should be blacklisted from all future ABC programs. One anonymous source claimed Stephanopoulos was furious but trying to keep it classy, while others said he felt ambushed by an actor who had clearly arrived with a chip on his shoulder. George addressed the moment briefly in a later segment. "Sometimes conversations take unexpected turns," he said with a tight smile. This morning was one of them. He moved on quickly, but viewers noted the tension still in his eyes. Meanwhile, Cage was already crafting his own response, on his own terms. That evening, he posted a grainy video on Instagram from what looked like a candlelit library or maybe a basement full of antique books and skull sculptures. In the dim light, with only flickering shadows playing on his face, Cage addressed his fans in a raspy, deliberate voice. "I didn't walk off Good Morning America because I was angry," he said. "I walked off because I couldn't breathe. That studio, bright lights, scripted smiles, cue cards, wasn't made for artists. It was built to domesticate the wild." He paused, leaning closer to the camera. "I am the wild." The video racked up over 15 million views within 24 hours. Celebrities chimed in, some mocking, others applauding. Guillermo del Toro tweeted, "He is a fever dream of cinema. Respect." Meanwhile, others like Piers Morgan called it a tantrum disguised as poetry. Amid the chaos, the real winner turned out to be Shadow's Pulse. Ticket pre-sales jumped nearly 60% overnight. Streaming platforms began negotiating for the film's post-theatrical rights, and fans who might have skipped the movie now lined up just to see what all the fuss was about. Cage, intentionally or not, had turned a routine interview into a global marketing event. Talk shows dissected the incident from every angle. On The View, Whoopi Goldberg remarked, "Look, the man's a walking Shakespeare monologue." What did they expect? A soundbite about his diet? Podcasts debated whether the whole thing had been a calculated publicity stunt. Some believed Cage had carefully orchestrated the moment, planning to detonate the morning show as a statement on the state of Hollywood. Others insisted it was classic Cage, improvised, volatile, authentic. Behind the scenes, ABC's damage control was in full effect. An unnamed executive leaked that they had reached out to Cage's team for a formal apology, which was allegedly refused. "Nicolas Cage doesn't apologize," his publicist said to Variety. "He transforms chaos into conversation." In the following days, Cage disappeared from the public eye. Rumors swirled about a sudden retreat to a monastery in Bhutan. Others claimed he was in Iceland filming a secret horror project. Wherever he was, he left a cultural wildfire in his wake. Weeks later, Shadow's Pulse premiered to sold-out screenings and glowing reviews. Critics hailed Cage's performance as raw, unnerving, and impossible to ignore, much like the man himself. In an ironic twist, GMA aired a glowing segment about the film's success, carefully avoiding any mention of the infamous walkout. The incident had already passed into entertainment legend. Nicolas Cage didn't just walk off a morning show, he tore a hole through it, exposing the fault lines between art and media, spontaneity and control, wildness and polish. Whether he was a genius, a madman, or both, one thing was clear: Nicolas Cage had once again rewritten the script. And the world couldn't look away.